Okay, so I was in Toronto last week and I had my camera mounted on a bridge and I took a time lapse of trains going in and out of the downtown core. And the idea is I wanted to showcase how busy the downtown Toronto is with the trains moving in and out. So I took a time lapse with the intention that I'll capture trains at least in each lane and then merge them all together in Photoshop to again showcase how busy of the environment is. So I went through my photos and I have these 4 images right here. I like the train on the right, and then I like the 2 trains in the center here, and then I like the train with the lights, and then finally a train on the left hand side right there. So the first thing I would do is select all of my images right here, and then I would right click and then I'd go edit in and then open as layers in Photoshop. So I have all of my 4 layers right here in Photoshop. Now before I start layer masking, I just want to make sure that they're all properly aligned. So I'm just going to select all of my images and I'm just going to go to edit and then auto align layers. And I'm just going to keep everything auto, go okay. Perfect. So that was quick. All right. So you can see here, it is basically aligned. So it's good. Perfect. So I'm just going to start with one train at a time. I can see the top image. I have the right lane that I just want to keep. So I'm just going to select that one layer and I'll hit down Option or Alt on your Windows. So Option and then go to Add Layer Mask. So then it adds a black layer mask. And then all I would do is just go zoom in with a brush and with a white brush rather selected. And I'm just going to start. Oh, that's actually kind of cool. I might make the train just longer. Yeah, okay, so I'm just gonna start brushing. It helps to go in, zoom in as much as you can so that the Photoshop police doesn't come and tell you, hey, it looks kind of fake, blah, 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 blah. So zoom in as much as you can. That will help you with all of the details that you need. So I'm just gonna zoom in, just get rid of this area. This would be a lot easier or a lot quicker if I was using my tablet, but I think the trackpad honestly for this is gonna do the job. I'm not really anal with the details as much. Perfect. So I made the train longer. That's actually kind of cool. Okay, so I like the 2 trains in the middle, so I'm just gonna keep them as is. I'm not gonna change that. And then let's see what this layer is. Perfect. So this layer, I like that train. I kind of like the glow as well that's coming out of the headlights. So it's the same thing. Press Alt and then add a layer mask, boom, and then start masking in just the area that has the train. And also, I know we're just masking the train, but it helps to go around just in case there's any shadows. You want to include the shadows as well in your masking. Kind of, again, you don't want the Photoshop police to be like, oh, it looks fake. Add the shadows. Okay, so where I'm adding it right here, we'll zoom in, use a smaller brush, and then just add the small little details right there. Boom. Okay, so we're good. It's busy. I don't think it's ever going to be like that in real life, but again, this is photography. It's subjective. Photoshop, you can do whatever you want in your photos. So let's do the same thing with that train on the left. Just be careful as you're masking, just to make sure that like there aren't any straight lines that are shifting in your photos. So like you can see the car right here has shifted a tiny bit. So I want to then, mask in the car alongside with the train. So we'll just do that right there. But I want to, as much as I can, avoid large details like the skyline or the bridge, because if I start masking that, it will not align and it's just going to create more work in post, and we don't want that. We don't want work in post. We just want this little train to add to the crazy busy environment that doesn't and will never exist. Okay, so I think I'm done with Photoshop. So I'm just gonna Command save, and we're saving this bad boy. So we're just gonna go back to Lightroom. So I have the image here in Lightroom and I'm solid. What I normally do is I go through my presets, and I have, you know, preset packs that I've worked on for years, and it's how I color grade in Lightroom. And it's not one click and you're done. There's still a lot of work that goes behind editing. I just do the presets just to kind of give me an idea of, oh, I kind of like this color. Maybe, okay, I'll tap into this. So I'm just gonna go through the presets that I have right here. And I'm using only my urban collection, because there's no point of using a sunset or nighttime in this image, because clearly it is broad daylight. Okay, so I kind of, a moon is one of my favorites, and then candy is my second favorite. A moon is nice because it kind of gives you that like cold vintage feel with blown up highlights. Candy, what I love about candy are the colors are just so like, it's just very earth tony, and I kind of like it. But I also like a moon. So this is where I say it's not a one click all. We're gonna do a mix of both. So I'm gonna start with candy. I'm just gonna go, this is too dark. Perfect, let's just go with the overblown candy. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just leave, maybe add a little bit, make it a little bit cooler. Just a tiny bit of magenta, but I think it's good. It's too bright, so I'm just gonna bring it down a tiny bit, add a little bit of contrast as well. The highlights are good. Shadows, I kind of like my shadows darker. I used to like blast the shadows like this to kind of show everything, but I find that when you're showing everything, you're not really adding to the mood. So I'll just bring the shadows down. Whites, it's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. And then let's just add a little bit of texture. And then I like to desaturate. So I always up the vibrance and then desaturate. And I think we can just fuck around with the curve a little bit. Just add a little bit of blue in the highlights. Nah. Yes, a little bit of blue, just a tiny bit. Just bring this down a tiny bit. Yes. Okay. And blue is my least favorite color in photos, so I tend to like really desaturate blue. I don't know why. I love blue in real life, like the color of the ocean, my favorite color ever. But in photos, for some reason, blue's just like, ugh. All right, we got this. Let's. Okay. And let's, yeah, sure. Let's. No. Ooh. I know I added blue in the highlights, but now I'm like, okay, I see you. Let's add a little bit blue in the shadow. No, we're gonna just darken the shadows. Yeah, just add a little bit. Just a tiny. It gives it a very cold vibe, and I like this. Let's just see the highlights. I started with a lot of blues in the highlights, but now, you know what? No, we're just gonna keep. No. I'm just gonna go back. No, don't touch this. A really sharp, one of my sharpening rules is whatever you sharpen. So if I sharpen to 80, I add a noise reduction 20. But since Lightroom's AI denoise, I haven't, like, that rule doesn't apply as much anymore. But like in this, for example, in this case, for example, because I edited the photo before adjusting it or denoising it in Lightroom, I can no longer use AI to denoise it. You see, it's like grayed out, it doesn't let you. So again, what I do is I use that rule 100. So if you sharpen by 70, you then add a bit of the noise reduction by 30. and then vice versa. I shoot with an A7R III. It's super sharp, so I don't shoot with a high ISO, so I don't end up having a lot of noise. So then I'm always like 80/20 is my go-to. Sometimes I'm like 90/10. With my old DSLR, I used to do 70/30 because I used to shoot with a 12 megapixel Nikon, so it was terrible. So again, it depends on the camera that you're using. In terms of adjustments, sure, auto, not bad. Okay, so this just shows you, this is like an old preset and I haven't touched it in a long time. I used to add post vignetting like there's no tomorrow to all of my images. And then I realized, why don't we use layer masks instead? Especially now with Lightroom's update, it's so much better to use the layer mask and darken the areas that I actually do want to darken, rather than back in the day, back when I used to add just like everything dark around and just the center would be bright. So I'm just gonna bring that vignetting back up. We no longer want it to be like that, and I'm just gonna fix it all with my filters, and I'm just gonna maintain my highlights. But I do like to add a little bit of vignetting, but like not as exaggerated as I used to. Like this is what I used to do. Okay, so we're just gonna, just a tiny bit. Grain, I don't want to add any grain, and I think our camera calibration is good as is. Right now, as a image, it's decent, but we can definitely take it up a notch. And like I just mentioned, I do this with my layer masks or my layer adjustments or filter adjustments, whatever the fuck this is called. We're doing this. So I'm just gonna add, first things first, this bottom area is way too bright, and kind of go back to what I mentioned earlier. I don't like to blast out my shadows, because when I blast out my shadows, it's showing too much detail. Where's your eye going? I want the eye to be in like the center, you know, leading towards the CN Tower, using the trains as like the leading line to the CN Tower. So first things first, I'm just gonna add a radial, or not a radial filter, a graduated filter from the bottom to the top. And all we're doing is just bringing down that exposure down. I don't want the eye to really show the detail of the rails. It's not important. And just bring down the shadows just a tiny bit. So already as it is, see, like it's so simple. It's minimal, but it's enough to kind of draw, like, see, now I'm drawn to the center. I'm drawn to the train, which is what I want the eye to be. Same thing at the top. I don't want people to be like, I don't want the eye to go anywhere at the top. So I think I'm gonna blow it up. I think I'm just gonna blow it up. Let's just see what that would look like. Yeah, kind of like give it that. I mean, it's overcast, so there's nothing going in the sky, and there aren't any nice clouds. So might as well give it that foggy, moody vibe. So we're just gonna do that by upping the exposure, maybe even upping up the highlights a tiny bit, and then sure, why not the shadows, and just keep it as is. That's kind of nice. I want to create that separation between the CN Tower and the sky, because after this, my fingers are gonna kill me. Let's see now, add a little bit of contrast. Yeah, see, that creates that small little separation, but I don't want it to be way too apparent at the same time. So maybe add just a tiny bit of dehazing. I need to get rid of this mask. Perfect. So let's just see. Yeah, see, it's so minimal, but it's enough that, again, it's grabbing that attention. Okay, so we're good so far. What else do I want to do? Let's see what we're gonna do by adding a small little radial filter. Kind of like, again, bring the attention to the chaos. And it's just a small little radial filter. And the more I look at the, let me just bring the clarity down, kind of give it that glow effect. Okay, the more I look at the skyline, the more I absolutely hate that blue. So I want to get rid of the blue, and I don't notice. We're not getting rid of the blue like this. Let's see by just making the, now we're desaturating this bad boy. Yeah, we're desaturating it. Without blue, it just looks a lot better. It just looks moody. And then to add contrast, I'm just gonna bring the luminance down. It looks so much better already. I don't know why I had so much blue and I just kept going. Much better, much better. All right, so see this side right here. I see a little bit. Is it the vignetting that's creating this, or is it? Let's see, because I want to get rid of that as well. It is the vignetting. See what I told you? I told you the vignetting really. I used to be my favorite tool, or my favorite tool in Lightroom, and now I absolutely hate it. Anyways, you live and you learn. I think we're done. I genuinely think if I do anything more than this, it's not worth it. Okay. See, this is the thing about editing, is like sometimes you get into this loop and you're like, I'm done. No, and you just keep going and you keep going and you keep going, and then you can just like take it way too far. But I think for now, I think I'm good. I'm not even like, in terms of like crop, if I was to crop it for Instagram 4:5, it's kind of nicer when you crop it because it got rid of all of the distraction that was on top. I think I'm done. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, just drop a comment. Tell me you want to see more stuff like this. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see me edit more content like this. I honestly created this without even planning anything. So if this is a mess, I'm so sorry. Don't judge me based on just this video alone. Come back for another one.